This is my feminist video post talking about what feminism means to me and kind of relating that to some of the articles that we've been talking about in class, specifically Amarita Shergill and her painting as a Tahitian woman, and sort of just different aspects of that. But I guess before that, we should probably discuss what feminism means to me. And I've included these two images that I've done myself because what feminism means to me, I feel like every day I'm learning new things, and I was not really given that chance when I was younger, even in school, like opportunities to learn like voices of women, more importantly, voices of women of color, which I think is really important, and I'm appreciative that we talk about that a lot more, because not giving in general, like I just feel like most stories of women artists are of white women artists, and a lot of the others are getting drowned out because of these white women artists. So I think it's important to tell these stories, whether they're good or bad. But feminism to me is just discovering my self-identity and my sexual identity and how I identify myself and what I choose to do and say. 'Cause I am a Mexican American artist who happens to be bisexual and female. But how would I have ever known that if I hadn't been exposed to media and just experienced these real life feelings? If I hadn't, interacted with feminism. So I guess these two pieces are just illustrations of me, and like the caption says, how much do I share? Like it's a constant battle, because every day is new and I feel different every day. And more recently I've discovered that it's kind of hard to to live these days, and but it shouldn't bring me down. I should have hope, because making art is cool. So in regards to Amarita Shergill, I chose sort of this example of her because she went to France and did her art training there and kind of learned the culture of French and European people. And I wouldn't say it's exactly like me, but I kind of relate to this story in the sense that Shergill was compared to Frida Kahlo in her instances, because they both like put on this front of a different culture, I suppose. With Frida Kahlo, these two artists are both biracial, Hungarian and Indian, and I believe Frida Kahlo, she is Mexican German. Yes, apologies. But both of these women decided to kind of put their other half up for the public to perceive, and that goes back to like identity and perception and how you want people to perceive you. And it's really confusing, because I used to I don't know I used to fawn over Frida Kahlo because she was Mexican, but the more I grew up, the more I learned that maybe it wasn't for the best, and maybe it was just for beneficial purposes, and how she maybe did it for a man for the male gaze, possibly, which kind of sucks to hear because it's just really hard. Well, I guess not really hard to find an artist that you can perfectly resonate with because there is no such thing, but I just thought that it was interesting that these two kind of have the same sort of ideas to share, or that I relate to, which brings me to these two pictures. I'm just going to tell you the story of my quinceañera and how I didn't really want one, but because my mom and my family forced it upon me, I had to go through with it. So the image on the left is a picture of my great-grandma, my grandma, my mother, and I. And it's kind of a really powerful image because here you have like a mother and her daughter, a mother and her daughter, a mother and her daughter. And it could get really deep and cultural, and I'm not really sure how to explore that just yet. But I think there's a lot to say because in that moment, this leading up to the actual quinceañera, I was just thinking like my whole life I've been thinking this doesn't feel right. Like this doesn't feel like me. Like I grew up in a Mexican household, like, but more specifically, like my mother was a single mother and she taught us English, and I was only exposed to Spanish through my my aunts and uncles and my grandma and even on my dad's side, but I never saw my dad's side. It was just a lot to take in, and I felt like a shell of myself, and that's what the picture on the right is. I think that it was really hard for me to feel this sort of pride and what is meant to be an appreciation or celebration of hitting womanhood, I suppose. It just felt very forced to me, and I did not enjoy that. And I wish I could maybe redo it or maybe have not done it at all, but I knew what I had to do because my family really wanted this for me. I was like the next in line from my cousins. That was like 10 years ago, and it was just a lot to take in, I think. But there was some joys in it because I was with my family, I suppose. But I guess it just ties back into the idea of like perception identity. Like, am I really who I am? I say this person. I never draw myself in cultural clothing like Frida Kahlo did, and I never like resonated with Mexican culture only when it was like and I still don't to this day, which is super unfortunate. And I try to integrate myself within like events and whatnot, and I speak to my dad in Spanish. But I don't know, I guess there's a lot to be said about growing up and losing a sense of your identity actively.